everybody, welcome to another episode of the Cynical Marketers, episode 57, season 2, episode 5 in season 2 already. So it's crazy. We're already through just about the end of January here. Actually, when you guys see this, it'll be February.
Yeah.
So it's moving. Not that fast because Nat and I are in the Chicago area and it's been 100 below zero for several days. So seems this part of year, just everything grinds to a halt, it seems. And winter's 8 months or 9 months long.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I feel like
the rest of the world marches on, certainly in the business world.
Yeah.
I've already rambled too much and we lost half of the people who landed on here. Man, like, you got to get to the hook.
They're like, this guy's talking about the weather. What are we talking about today, Mike?
Lord, branding and versus SEO and, your performance marketing. It's really the importance of brand and building a brand because most businesses don't do it. And they focus all their efforts into performance marketing and SEO.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the importance of brand because this is kind of our area and it matters for everything. And it also impacts the performance of those other things.
Yeah.
Having a good, strong brand will improve SEO performance and improve your PPC campaigns and performance marketing. So, but nobody does it. Nobody likes to do it. I've been a consultant and a CMO for several years now. Nobody likes it because it's hard to measure, and anything that you do for it, it's a the results from brand marketing the indicators for it are lagging indicators, whereas SEO or PPC for sure, direct response advertising, an email campaign, how that did
immediately
pretty quickly, direct response ad, if you've been around for a bit, confidently if we put $1 in, we should get blah, blah back. For every $1.
Yeah.
It's much harder with brand, and the results for it don't show up for a while, and they don't show up directly. They're kind of sprinkled across all of your stuff.
Yeah.
So attribution is often never that good. And then you have the problem, if you were doing brand, and most businesses will quit it because your accountant or the CFO, whoever is like, well, all of our leads and stuff come in from our Google ads. So we don't even need the rest of this stuff. We'll just focus everything into Google ads. Our Google ads are doing all of the lifting for us. We don't need any of the rest, which happens constantly in businesses. And then you kill your brand marketing and then 3 months, because your equity will stay, you'll keep that for a bit and you'll ride on that. But then it'll slowly start to degrade. I don't know where I am on camera. That's professionalism there. So you can see my hand gestures. And then if your performance starts to degrade, it's never attributed to the right thing. So all of a sudden, if your cost per lead or higher or acquisition starts to go up, they're like, our ads are performing worse. We need to fix it. Okay, but it was because you turned off your brand marketing 4 months ago. And now you're starting to feel the effects of that. So a lot of times changes, good or bad, are not attributed properly back to your brand efforts because they're not close enough connected for most people to get it and see it. So they don't ever think about it. They just don't even think about it as a possibility. So it matters, but most businesses don't do it.
Yeah.
Because
they don't do it
hard.
because it's not sexy, right? It's not we can't 10x it. We can't answer the question of what's the ROI immediately, right? Like everybody has been so conditioned in the last decade or so of this hustle culture that's promised 10x this, x that, right? That we've talked about in other podcasts that people tune out everything else. And they don't, we've heard people say things like, I don't really know that I need email marketing because I'm a small business. Yeah. We've heard people say, like you said, like, oh, we don't need that. We won't do organic social. We don't need that. We have ads, right? It doesn't, like business 101, marketing 101 does not change just because the tools that we use and the technology behind what we do has evolved over time. You still need to know what does your business stand for? What's your mission? What's your vision? Even if you don't call it those things, there's been evolutions of that, but that's your brand. What do you know? Like Mike, like you said, if you ignore who you are organically and you're not building your brand, and that takes time and takes patience, like we tell people all the time, what's the point of all the other efforts?
Right. And you can do those other things. You certainly need to. Like, I'm not saying you don't do those things. You definitely have to. But it's really, I call it defensive strategies, right? So SEO, for example, there's only 2 things in this world that businesses will happily spend money on what they call marketing. They'll drop 10 grand a month or more on an SEO agency. And if somebody tells them they need a new website, happily write checks to whoever.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
So SEO for sure, you have to do it, but it's more defensive because everybody else is doing it too. And SEO is the easier thing than actually trying to go out and build a brand because it doesn't take any of you or your people. You can do it facelessly. And now there's AI tools that can help you pump out 100 SEO optimized blog posts in a month,
Yep.
right? But everybody else has those same tools and you're not
Yeah.
really building anything there. You're hoping to be the one to show up when somebody Googles what it is that you do. So they're
Right.
not actually searching for you as the solution. They have a problem that they're looking for a solution for. And you are now hoping that you're the one that shows up and gets clicked.
Right.
Where if you're a brand, people look for you.
Right.
They know in their head, oh, I have this problem. I know this. There's these people who solved that issue. I'm going to go Google them. I'm going to look for them. I'm going to go right to their website.
Yeah.
That's the difference. People look for you by name and they know you are the category answer in brand.
Yeah.
When you think of, I need running shoes for people who are into running,
Right.
there's names that they know that they're going to go to. They don't just Google, I need running shoes.
Yeah. I mean, same thing with tax season is coming up, right? Like you are not, who shows up out there, there's going to be big names like TurboTax, all of those guys. But, how do you, if you're an accounting firm, in Chicago, how do you stand out? Like you are not going to be, TurboTax in showing up in search on Google, so like you have to build your foundation. All of these other things that I feel like we're talking about, Mike, are tactics, right? Like SEO, paid ads,
That's exactly right.
They're all tactics. That's not your foundation of your business. Those are the things that keep your business in operation, right? Like they are, but what is the foundation of your business? And that's your brand. That's what you're building. I mean, there's three different music stores in downtown Wheaton where we live, right? There's three of them. They all offer classes. They all offer instrument rentals. How do you compete against each other, right? These are businesses that don't have a ton of money to throw into SEO. They don't have a ton of money to throw into paid. You have to build your brand. It's wild to me, Mike, that like this is, it's 2026 and this is the stuff that businesses are neglecting. And we've seen it in practice over the last 2 years of working with clients, of talking to potential clients, of networking, talking to other folks in our industry, brand just gets ignored. That brand building gets ignored. Organic social media, which helps you do your, brand building, gets ignored all the time.
Yep.
People
There's
will
no
post
attribution anymore, right?
Yeah.
So many business owners
you
are
can't
out there
see
like,
the
well,
direct
organic social is
attribution.
pointless.
Right.
I only get a couple hundred views maybe. And then we look at our analytics and there's no referrals from Facebook.
Right.
Like, of course not, because there's
not.
no links for that,
Yeah.
right? But that's not what the metrics you should be looking at for that.
Right.
And you're just crazy to think that it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Direct traffic to your website, if you look at that measure. And Google has this. They've talked about this too, and there's research about that. I'm going to put out more on this topic because I love this one. But the moment of truth is a Google concept that they've put out. And this is the moment of search truth when people start searching for things. What led to that? The Google ads people take all the credit for everything at all times, always. They always have.
Yes.
And they get all the credit for everything. They say, we're the ones who bring in all the revenue.
Right.
But why did that Google ad get clicked?
Right.
How much of your Google ad traffic even is branded search traffic?
Right.
Which your ad agency won't tell you. They're not going to want to tell you that you're spending all those Google ad money for your own brand name clicks. And of course you have to defend that because everybody bids on their competitors, adds those as keywords too, right? Of course. But if you're getting that, it's not a bad thing. I want them to click on my ads then, but this means you're starting to be seen somewhere else. And your tech people, I saw this in a business recently where somebody asked the ad team in a meeting I was in, hey, our direct traffic's going up. And why do you guys think that is? And like, oh, they're seeing our ads. They see our Google ads everywhere. What? Wasn't even a thought. And the tech people never think this way, right? They don't think about everything else that you're doing. They can only think in terms of its ads. Like, oh, so your position is that they were Googling and they keep seeing it because the only way they're going to see the ads is that they're doing a search of some kind for this thing.
Right.
And yes, for sure, there are some people who will not click on an ad.
Right.
That's not the majority of people.
No, they will click on that first link.
Most people just they will click on the easiest thing. So it's just crazy to think if you have direct traffic and your branded search traffic, you
Right.
need to look for those things. Because when those things start increasing, that's because you're getting seen in other ways. That's what your social media, organic social does for you.
Mhm.
That's what you
Right.
being out there as much as you can does. And
Right.
I guarantee you that traffic converts at a higher rate than your organic traffic, right? Which is your SEO, because you had the best blog post that got
Yeah.
clicked on, you
Yeah.
know, or you won a bid on a Google ad on a PPC. I bet your branded search traffic and direct traffic converts much better.
Yeah.
Leads to purchases, leads to a lead, leads to a better outcome than these other things. But no one wants to focus on building that kind of traffic because it's harder to do. And it's way easier to write 100 blog posts.
Of course.
I, the
Especially
owner,
with
don't have to get
AI.
out there. I don't want to be seen. I don't
Yeah.
want to be on camera. I don't want to go out and do this. Making content and getting seen out there and establishing a brand is very hard.
Yeah. It really is, though.
But it's way easier to hire an SEO agency from overseas for $5 an hour to pump out blog content. So that's why businesses will do it. Because building a brand is hard.
It is
And
hard,
then-
but it's important. It's important in retention too, Mike. You know, we talked about this in another podcast. Again, I keep referencing our old episodes, but we talked about this before where I had said, like, you know, subject lines don't matter in emails anymore. And I used to say this in an agency that I worked in, and I would get destroyed, right, by either the client or my, you know, leadership at the time. Well, we have to A/B test subject lines. We have to A/B test. It's great. You should be A/B testing things all the time. Subject lines are not the issue. This is what I am also a consumer. I know this is true for most people. When you look at your inbox we're all on our phones. Your subject line doesn't even show fully. Like you can't even read the whole thing, right? People will open emails from people they know. They will open emails from brands that they want to hear from companies and services that they want to hear from. You know, and so you're establishing your brand authority and how you treat your customers throughout the purchase and retention process matters so much more than anything you can possibly put in a subject line, than anything you can possibly put in an SMS, whether it be a promo, whether it be, you know, a free offer, 50% off. I don't care how crazy you go. If they don't want to hear from you, they'll just swipe and delete that text message or that email. So brand on the retention side, this has been an uphill battle for me for a few years, having worked in an agency, you know, a couple years back. You know, I'm like, you're wasting your time. This is not something that we need to look. Emoji in a subject line is not going to matter. Your from line matters the most.
Mm-hmm.
If you are not the person that somebody wants to hear from, you could be giving away free things. Nobody wants to hear about it. You know, they'll just delete if they don't recognize the brand name.
We have a client who does give away free stuff.
Yeah.
And email does okay, but not always.
Yeah. Right.
You know?
And it's interesting because you should on the retention side spend time to again continue to build your brand experience, right? So now that you've acquired someone, how do you treat them? What's your welcome series like? How do you talk about your brand? Build a relationship. Like this is something we talked about, Mike, before, where we would ask businesses, like, what is your strength? It's our customer service. I don't want to talk to your customer service. In fact, as your customer, I hope that I never have to talk to your customers, especially if you're an e-com business, right? Or a service business. A service business, obviously, like you want to treat your customers well, and you're probably interacting with people a lot more like an accounting firm would, right? But you build your brand on both the acquisition and the retention side because your brand is the thing that makes somebody want to continue to work with you. People may give you one shot for one purchase, but brand building is also retention. It's also how you speak about your brand and that experience. And are you bombarding people 3 times a day with emails and SMS messages? Or are you, segmenting? Are you sending at the optimized time? What are you doing? Like all those things matter. And you're from far outranks anything you can put in a subject line or a pre-header,
Mm-hmm.
It
used to matter, that subject line, so much, right? But it just doesn't now because people
doesn't anymore.
They get it with email marketing and stuff, right? And again, AI is destroying this world, right? Because of all the cold email programs that are out there that just do it at scale. So now everybody's inboxes are just flooded.
Yeah.
So how do you cut through? And it's the same thing on an SEO. you know, you're going to bid, you have a blog post that you want to rank for on a keyword, and you have an agency who tells you, we can get you to rank on the most important keywords. Okay,
Yep.
now there's 3 posts there. How do you cut through? It's you and 2 others. Why you? Why are
Right.
you getting the click? Well,
Yeah.
because we had the most SEO optimized title. Like, I
Hmm.
hope, maybe, but that's
Maybe.
hope.
Hope
You
is
want to
not
be
a
the name
strategy.
that shows up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, when somebody wants to buy a TV, and Amazon does this, right? So you're going to go on Amazon likely to search for one.
Right, right.
Lots of people out there are the value shoppers, and they may sort by
Oh,
the
yeah, of
cheapest
course.
to most expensive, and they don't care about the name or anything. They just want to buy the cheapest thing they can get. But that's
Right.
not going to be like most people. They're
Right.
probably going to want to work with brands they've heard of.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Because you
for
want me to
sure.
buy a TV or whatever, a computer, and spend this money. I've never heard of you.
Right.
These other ones, at least I've heard of. So I'm going to comparison shop between these ones I am aware of.
Right.
And
Yep.
some contrarian, of course, if you made it this point, like, I never buy from brands I'm aware of. I only blah, 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 right? Somebody who works in IT typically who says this. If your product's any good, you don't have to market it. IT
Oh my God.
people have that view.
Oh my God. How many times have we heard that? I absolutely hate that. But yes.
Right. The corporate graveyard is filled with awesome products that no one ever heard of.
That
Great
nobody
ideas
ever will hear
that
about.
no one's
Yeah.
ever heard of.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
But you need to be that thing that cuts through, because there's more noise today than there has ever been.
I know.
You know, you talk about the
That's-
attention
yeah.
economy, right? Like there are
Right.
so many things that compete for the attention of your potential customers. It's not just your competitors that you're competing
Yeah.
against. You're
No.
competing against funny dance videos,
Right.
you know?
Exactly.
Streaming shows, YouTube videos doing lots of different silly things when people go
Yep.
down a rabbit hole.
Yep.
They're not going out and figuring out all of their business problems or their personal problems
Mhm.
all day long. There's
Yeah.
so much going on. You have to cut
There is
through
so
that
much
noise,
noise.
and brand is what cuts through that noise. You know, when you think of athletic gear, there's probably names of companies that pop into your head. If you need car insurance, I bet there's names that pop into your head, even if
Right.
you hate them
Right.
because you hate their commercials so much.
I
It
was
doesn't
just gonna
matter.
say.
Now you're going to be making a money decision. So you may hate their commercials, but you're going to go and look and like, well, I'm going to check these people out and see what their offer is anyway. I know I hate their
Yep.
commercials, and it still worked. Again, some of you out there will never buy from people that you hate their commercials. That is not
Right.
everybody. It works. That stuff works because it's memorable and it
Yep.
cuts through the noise,
Yep.
you know?
Yeah.
So you think of a product, there's probably a name that you can think of that is that thing,
Immediately. Yeah.
you
And
know?
it's just interesting. I mean, it's like, you know, with all these new tools, all these new, you know, things, all these next promises and everything, it's just always, like to me, it always just boils down to the basics.
Mhm.
You know, build your brand, understand the core values of your business. You know, it is definitely considered old school now, but like, what is your mission? What is your vision? What do you stand for? How does that translate in every touch point that you have with the customer? Don't pick and choose the touch points. Unfortunately, it's 2026. You got to be everywhere, right? That includes doing the things that you're not going to see. Maybe you won't see any return on, or you won't see an immediate return. It doesn't mean that you don't need to do them. You know, like you still have to put that, you know, the brand work in, like build your messaging around who you are, like make sure people know your name and what you stand for. And you're not going to do that just through ads or just through SEO.
You can't do faceless stuff anymore.
Yeah.
And brands don't, right? Even if you say like, well, who's the face of Nike?
Yeah.
So what Nike does then is, instead of having a corporate face, that's what they use their famous athletes for. Those are the faces of Nike. That's what the influencers are for, because people connect to people,
right?
Not to your brand,
right?
You know? So think of anyone else that's out there too. There's some face of it, even like a tech product, right? Like NVIDIA.
Right. Yep.
Their CEO's out there. He goes on TV shows all the time. He's always out there talking.
Yep.
You know,
I mean, think about
Palantir, their guys out, like even tech nerdy products.
Yep.
There's a face that you can connect to.
Well, think about like Progressive Insurance. Think about, you know, like that same State Farm, Jake from State Farm, right? Like you brought up the insurance companies, and I immediately in my head, I was like, yeah, I know Liberty Bibberty.
Everybody hates Liberty Bibberty guy, and they just released a new one with him. They doubled down. They're like, we know everybody hates this guy. So here's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
F you.
Like, yeah,
More
but
of
you're
it. How
going to
about
talk
that?
about it. You know, you're going to talk about it.
And people are like, yeah, well, it's negatively. Maybe. But when it comes time for you to maybe you need to get new insurance, you'll throw that stuff out the window if there's a deal for you to be had. Because you'll vote with your pocketbook and not what you think about an ad.
Right.
Again, the vast majority, an IT guy out here watching this, I understand where you're at on the spectrum will make it impossible for you, you know, to separate these things. But the vast majority of the audience is going to go check them out. Like, well, you know, I get it.
I mean, we see it all the time.
Right? Check them out. I know them, you know.
We see
They've
this
got
all
Vern
the time.
Schillinger from Oz as their spokesman for how many years now? Or what is known now? What, Whiplash, right?
Yep.
Why?
Yeah.
So there's still faces or a mascot of some kind, right? Geico had the lizard.
Right.
So there's very few examples of things that you might be able to pop out of to think there's no connection.
But these are all brand
Sony's one that jumps out
efforts.
at me, right? There's no person.
But these are all brand
Apple,
efforts, you know. It's like, think about things that Apple does. Think about people that do billboards. People are always like, well, what's a return on investment on a billboard? That's not why you do billboards, right? Like, you're not going to necessarily measure. You have metrics to measure. Again, we've talked about this in a different episode. You have metrics to measure all these brand efforts. They just take longer but they are necessary. You know, unless you are a brand that's going to turn and burn, you're just in it to make a crap ton of money for a year and get out. You don't care about your longevity. You don't care about your customer service. God bless. Then put all your money in ads and run with it. Right. But if you are building a business, but if you're building a business to stay, I mean, we've talked about this. We have a client that we worked with that had to rebrand. Right, due to a trademark violation or a potential trademark infringement, whatever it was. It wasn't anything like super serious, but he had to rebrand and he chose a completely new brand name. And he knows, when we talked to him, he said the next several months to a year, I am just going to talk about what this brand stands for. All my content is going to be around what this brand is because nobody knows what it is, right? And so he isn't out there trying to push what he is selling. He's just showing up and talking about the meaning of the brand name and what he's doing and why it matters to him, so that he is building that brand message. So next time you see his ad pop up, you know, selling his new hoodie or whatever, you're going to remember seeing all these organic posts. Or you can go back, if you see an ad and you're like, who the heck are these guys? You'll go on their page and see a crap ton of videos of him essentially talking about the same message over and over and over again, because he knows he's starting from zero, right? So I think if you don't realize the importance of that, then you're either not in it for a long run, or you need to, I don't know, wake the heck up, like do some work on your brand side, you know?
That's a good point. If you're in it for the short and you're just trying to cash something out, do that stuff, right? Don't worry so much about brand because you're not trying to, right? But I don't know how you're going to cash out, because somebody wants to buy this thing from you. They're going to buy a brand.
Right.
And they're buying process.
I mean, we've seen people do drop ship and that type of stuff short term, and then just shut the whole thing down, you know.
I'm thinking of like service businesses and stuff. Yeah, if you're just some crappy shipper, do whatever. No one cares. You're a scammer anyway.
Right.
You know, and you can do it with ads, right? If you have enough money, you can overcome most problems.
Almost,
but not every problem. I mean, you see like OpenAI's, you know, they're on track. Like, there was a leaked document that they could lose $14 billion again in this coming year.
Yeah.
And they've lost billions already. And they have unlimited money, apparently. Hasn't overcome all of their problems, but you can flood the market with TV commercials and get yourself known.
Yeah.
And there are things to shortcut some of that branding, but it takes a lot of money to do it.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot more expensive. If you have it, go for it.
Go for it, right? If money is not an issue for you, and unfortunately it is for most people, right?
It is for most.
If money is not an issue for you, I mean, then, you know, go.
Yeah, you're not
going
to launch with a $10,000, you know, or $1 million a month PPC campaign. Most aren't going to be able to do that. And then on top of that, you're going to have to do media buys around the country or national even.
Yeah.
Most people aren't just going to be able to do that. Some can, and you'll see brands pop up out of nowhere, and you're like, where the heck did they come from?
You're like, who the heck are these people? Yeah.
they're private equity backed or venture capital backed and came in with some money. And then
Yeah.
you'll look deeper into them and see like, oh, I see their founder came from Gary Vee, right? Was a VaynerMedia guy, right? That's liquid death.
Yeah.
Oh, they came out of nowhere. Like their founder was like VaynerMedia's head of marketing. He's not a nobody. And he had all kinds of venture capital backing. Good idea.
Well,
yes,
yeah, like Gary Vee
but-
invested in
yeah, and he immediately had access to markets because of who he was and who was investing.
Right.
You know, you are not going to be able to walk straight up to Target and say, "Do you want to start selling my product?"
Yeah.
Get out of here, moron. We don't know who you are. You know.
Yeah.
So connections and money solve a lot of problems.
Solve a lot of problems.
That
And
is
if
not
you
most
don't have
businesses.
those, do branding, do brand marketing.
You don't have to do
That's
that.
it.
No.
That's our message.
All right.
Connections and money solves all your problems. If you
Yeah,
don't
right,
have
for
those,
sure.
do brand marketing.
But not ever. Even in that case, it's still, you know, think of the celebrity brands that were out there
Oh my
that
God.
everyone thought I can short.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yes. No, absolutely not. No one was listening to the rest of this. I feel like maybe we should assume somebody hangs out until the end of the episode. Maybe we should have some kind of like a trivia question or a giveaway or something. We're awesome, Mike.